Hi, my name is Elisa Preston. I am obtaining my master's in special education with a focus on a Strat 2 BDLD. I graduated from Eastern Washington University in 2004 and have been teaching in the special education for the past 2 years. Past research completed by Cooter, Davis, Dunlap, and their colleagues reveal that many students with emotional and/or behavioral disorders suffer from deficits in attention, language, and communication, which influences student social and academic outcomes. Negative effects on self-esteem and overall success have been found. Distractibility is one of the most common issues reported by teachers in the general education setting. Attention deficits mixed with one or more negative behavior influences self-esteem, social functioning, and academic outcomes. This does include a higher dropout rate. Additionally, high rates of suicidal ideation are found among students with emotional behavior disorders, according to Anderson and Downing. The reason that I chose this area of study is I have worked in mental health since 2005, both with children and in adults in an inpatient setting. Upon finishing my degree, I was hired on in the public school setting in a special education room due to my experience with inpatient. I was assigned many behavioral students with behavior IEPs and had been teaching behavior and social skills as well as math and reading. Part-time, I also work part-time in the hospital setting through the school district in a partial program where students are either diagnosed with an emotional behavior disorder or are in the process of being diagnosed with a mental health issue. Let's take a look at the literature review. A study completed by Cooter in 2013 shows that children with emotional behavior disorders often have language and communication impairments that go undetected. These children will often miss social and verbal cues given by those around them, according to Anderson Downing. This does affect their ability to both follow directions and stay focused. Lingo and his colleagues found that students often look around the room for visual clues like charts to provide feedbacks. According to Anderson and Downing, applying verbal and visual interventions influence attentiveness, behavior, social, and academic outcomes. I also looked at the area of positive behavior support. These self-regulation interventions were found to assist students in assessing and monitoring their own behaviors and provide practice of needed behavior skills. That increases their time on task, work completion, and overall expected classroom behaviors. Positive behavior support was first mentioned in 1997 with IDEA to the public school system, and since then it has grown. Although teachers are hesitant to take away from academic instruction, Graham, Day, Gardner, and Shen do suggest that providing self-management skills will increase classroom behaviors. PBS is now recommended as an effective strategy for students with emotional or behavior disorders, according to Sugai, Horner, Dunlap, Hyman, and Lewis. According to Graham Day, self-regulation consists of skills that require students to control their own behaviors in everyday settings, such as the school environment. Students who use self-management interventions generally play a large part in monitoring of themselves. Due to this, students should be directly taught strategies and expectations before implementation. As the student's confidence grows in desired behaviors, it increases the likelihood of academic, social, and emotional success. So what are the possible impacts? Desired behaviors will increase. Participants will focus in the special education setting and eventually generalize this to their homerooms. And also that participants who are able to self-regulate in the school setting will generalize this to their home environment. There is a gap in research for effectiveness of student self-monitoring in small group instruction for students diagnosed with emotional and behavior disorders. The purpose of this research study was to determine the the effect of using the self-regulation strategies of self-monitoring for students with emotional behavior disorders, showing focus deficits in the special education setting. The hypothesis was that the use of self-monitoring strategies by students with emotional behavioral disorders decreases inappropriate voice, which includes talking out and out-of-seat instances during instruction time in the education setting. Let's take a look at the methodology. The participants were second graders, male and female. They attend an urban elementary school which has 600 students. Both participants, they did qualify for free and reduced lunches. They were all diagnosed with an emotional behavior disorder and were also identified by teachers to persistently exhibit the disruption behavior of talking out and getting out of their seats without permission. The materials used for the research were derived from Applied Behavior Analysis for Teachers 9th edition, written by Alberto and Troutman in 2013. These tools were adjusted for recording and graphing the specific targeted areas of talking out and out-of-seat behaviors. The materials included participant self-monitoring, data collection sheets, participant graphs, observer data collection sheets used by myself. The procedure used was an ABA research design with 4 phases, non-treatment followed by treatment phases. There were 5 15-minute weekly sessions, which lasted 12 weeks. There's a non-treatment phase where the researcher collected data. The treatment phase, direct teaching with visuals, was used. Participants did self-monitor using tally marks, and then the participants would graph their recorded behaviors or the number of tally marks. Then the researcher continued to collect data. Progress monitoring took place daily and weekly. They were also modified, as I said before, from the Applied Behavior Analysis Teacher Edition 9th, which did help with reliability and validity of data collected. Tally marks were used to record the number of talking out and out-of-seat instances and were recorded daily. Microsoft Excel was used to assist in the comparison of data points within each phase and between the phases. JSP software was also used to find the standard deviation, mean, median, and the Cohen's d. Let's look at the results. Data does support the hypothesis. The use of self-monitoring strategies by students with emotional and behavioral disorders decreases inappropriate voice and out-of-seat instances during instruction time in the special education setting. The dependent sample t-test suggests that there is a significant difference between non-treatment and treatment phases. The average of talking out behaviors during non-treatment phase compared to treatment phases did show a decrease. The mean went from 3.33 to 1.662. During non-treatment phases, incidence ranged from 0 to 13 talkouts or inappropriate voice during a single instructional period compared to a maximum of 5 talkouts during a treatment phase. A dependent paired sample t-test was also conducted to evaluate whether students' out-of-seat behaviors increased, decreased, or remained the same. The t-test suggests that there is a significant difference between non-treatment and treatment phases. The average out-of-seat behaviors during the treatment phase, there was a mean of 1.072 standard deviation, 9.908. It did decrease compared to the non-treatment phases, which was the mean was 3.46, standard deviation 2.037. During the non-treatment phases, there were 0 to 8 incidents during a single instructional period compared to 4 maximum during the treatment period. What are the Modifications, the research implicates that students may be able to use self-monitoring skills in the special education environment to increase focus and on-task time. This may lead to further success in the academics to carry over into the general education setting. They will need time, though, in a direct teaching environment for behaviors or social skills, with visuals being a key. For parents, this does provide hope that students are or will be able to self-regulate more often at home, as it is a concern. However, it would be a positive for them to also receive some training in the area of behavior skills that their student's child is learning. For teachers, this means that they will need further teaching learnings in the area of behaviors and specific skill sets for behavior in order for the students to have access to the interventions across all school settings and not just in the special education setting. There were limitations. In the limitations that were most noticed or noted by myself were a changes in medications. From day to day, you did not always know if the student took their medication, and that does have an effect on acting out incidents in the special education setting and in the general education setting. The fluidity of students within our group and classroom did change. We had students come and leave. There were the adjustments through the beginning of the year in the special education setting, and a change of teachers also in my room that did have an impact on acting out or speaking out of seat behaviors. Also, during the treatment phase, the second treatment phase, I believe, we had Halloween, which was in October, and then also we did have Thanksgiving. It did increase the incidence of speaking out, especially for one of the male participants, which did change that did have an effect on incidents during the treatment phase that weren't typical for those phases. Also, the process of self-monitoring did set off a few students in particular, as they stated that they believed they were in trouble if they got a tally mark, and then direct teaching had to be done again, or reteaching, to the fact that no, a tally mark just means that we are alerting ourselves to certain behaviors that are not desired. Future suggestions, I would limited self-monitoring tools with possibly just a yes and a no rather than tally marks, which would be less time consuming. I would like to see a study with that, maybe not only with the elementary education, but maybe up through the middle school, high school ages for specific sets of students. Daily recording sheets, again, that yes, no, and just simply more condensed or simpler modification for easier use and access. The knowledge I gained was self-monitoring does decrease inappropriate voice or talking out and out-of-seat behaviors. B.F. Skinner speaks about operant conditioning. This does line up with positive behavior support, as students are able to graft themselves. It's an immediate either reward on their behalf or notification, just like a visual that they have succeeded or that they need to work on it again. Also, as their desired behaviors increase, the environment around them then will change, because students are more likely to want to participate with them, whether it's outside or in the group setting. Through this, I also learned that there is very much an important piece in using direct instruction when teaching behavior skills. Here's some of the references I